As we celebrate Black History Month, we celebrate our history as has been spoken. And it's so important that we know our history. Just last week I asked my granddaughter, I said, it's Black History Month, so what did you learn in school? I learned that we were slaves. I said, what? Yeah, we are slaves. I said, slaves? How do you be a slave? Are you free? Oh, no. And that is not too seldom that happens with our children today. We have to tell the story. Tony Brown would say what we get in our books is his story. His story, not our story. And I would say to her, as I say to others, I got them some books, and I say our heritage was not as slaves on the plantation. Oh, no. We came from a great land, our motherland, Africa. I said it were kings and queens and tribal chiefs and architects and mathematicians who built pyramids. We were not slaves in our heritage. And it's so important. When we think back to Mother Africa, our homeland, regardless of the age or the tribe or the culture, there was one thing that was permeated all over our homeland. All of our ancestors in Africa. There was always an unfaltering trust, unswerving faith, and indomitable love for their God. And that stayed with our ancestors as they walked in the fields. And another thing that was prevalent was a kind of reverence for water, a reverence for rivers, oceans, lakes, and streams. And they would have their libations with water. They built their homes near the sky blue waters to be baptized. And they sang and chanted in their own language. Oh yes, they had many more chants in their own language. And they were praying people. They were proud people. They were producers. But then came that horrible day when they were gathered up and herded like cattle and placed in the bottom of a ship. And that ship that came from Africa, and the waves were rushing, angry waves, and the ship was shaking, and our ancestors were bound together in chains, shackled, one left leg to the other person's right leg shackled, the other leg, left leg to the right leg shackled. And they moaned, and they groaned, and they cried, and they prayed. They always, regardless of how hard it was, they always prayed to their God. And you know, even though those angry waters splashing up against the ship, even though even now and then a shark came up and lifted its ugly head, those who were able to get out of those chains and shackles, they looked at the water not as an angry wave. They looked at the water as it would be their Tanzanians' blue waters in Africa. And they were determined that they would not be slaves in America. And then they would jump overboard in the cold waters, one by one by one. But they said in their hearts, the water is our freedom.
Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over my knee. And before I'd be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Oh yes. You know, Langston Hughes must have read about this great legacy and about this great reverence of our people. And he wrote the poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers.
Oh, wasn't that a wide river, river of Jordan, wide river, there's one more river to cross.
I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo and it lulled me to sleep.
Gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside. Study war no more.
I built upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy waters turn all golden in the sunset.
Old Man River, Old Man River, he just keeps rolling. Oh Lord.
Yes, I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers.
to count wrong.
Oh yes, I've known rivers. I've known rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers.
Our souls have grown deep like the rivers.
Thank you, but just wait a minute. I stopped and got Paul Robeson to help me out. But that's Deacon Charles Tate from Green Street Baptist who helped us.